it's time to talk some coaches, Mark. Time to talk some coaches. We're going to do two things. We're going to talk about coaches who could be on the way out, and then we're going to transition into coaches who could be on the way in 2017. And for coaches who could be or should be on the hot seat, I'm going to throw one out to you. And ESPN in their article has this coach as, and I quote, warming up. I don't know how it's not hot at this point. Marvin Lewis of the Cincinnati Bengals. We mention his name every single year when it gets to hot seat talk.
Yeah, there's a few coaches in this warming up type of category who I just asked the question, what the hell do they have to do to get fired? This is like one of those situations where you work somewhere and it's a nice cushy job. Maybe your union is very strong and people will say, you almost got to steal something or murder somebody to get fired. This is kind of what that is. Marvin Lewis, for the life of him, cannot get fired. They're going to miss the playoffs this year. It's a guarantee pretty much at this point. They can't win when they get into the playoffs. They don't have playoff success under Marvin Lewis at all.
Haven't won a single playoff game.
They have had so much talent on this team, both offensively and defensively. And what do they have to show for it? Absolutely nothing. What the fuck does this guy have to do to get fired? I mean, seriously, it's ridiculous at this point. And, part of the fact that maybe they want to say, he's 115 and like 101, right? 99?
He's 115, 99, and 3.
So he's a winning coach. Sure. He's a winning coach.
53% winning percentage.
And we've had some great success in the regular season so far. But my question I always ask people, when is enough enough?
Yeah, and I think that with me, it's one of those things when it comes to Marvin Lewis, it's not a fact of, wow, this guy stinks, get him out of town. To me, when I think of Marvin Lewis and the Cincinnati Bengals, I think of the word mediocrity. And that's what you have here. You have a winning culture of mediocrity when it comes to winning where, okay, yeah, we did well in the regular season. We made a playoff we made a playoff bid. Oh, we lost. And you're fine with that year after year after year.
At least we got
to
there.
Where, like, you get there in 2009, then you have a 4-12-1 season, or 4-12 season. It was the 4-11-1 that he had in 2008 before that. And then you start this playoff run, and this is the sense you're in now of just mediocrity to where it's like, it's one of those things where I feel like the Bengals are, well, we could get rid of him. It's kind of like when you have that, when the guy has that girlfriend, and it's like, you can tell he's not really happy, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, I've been dating her this long, and if I get rid of her now, I mean, then I've got nothing, and I got to go back to square zero.
Yeah.
That's what I feel where the Bengals are, where it's like, we could get rid of Marvin Lewis, but then maybe by getting rid of Marvin Lewis, we are going back to square one.
Yeah.
And that is scary, where everything that you've built, but really it's, like I said, you're building a culture of winning, but mediocrity or
and now it's going
winning.
downhill. It's really gone way downhill this year to the point where it's like now you don't even have that excuse anymore.
And look at how many coaches that they've had lead. I mean, Hugh Jackson, I'm giving a slide because who expected him to go to Cleveland and make the playoffs? I mean, I'm not giving him any hard feelings for that 0-12. I mean, he is in Cleveland, but you see Mike Zimmer, you see Jay Gruden. They leave. They have success. Jay Gruden's doing pretty well with Kirk Cousins in Washington. You've got Mike Zimmer doing really well and building a really good team in Minnesota, who would have been a Super Bowl contender if our quarterback didn't get injured.
Offensive line.
Well, yeah, but if Teddy didn't get injured, Teddy could still do things with his legs and extend the play.
That offensive line is terrible.
I know, but he could extend with his legs and maybe make things happen. That's what I'm saying.
He's going to get hurt no matter what.
I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have been hurt. I don't think it was fate. But I think the Bengals need to move on. They need to move on from Marvin Lewis. And
coaches have been fired for less.
I don't understand how he could be listed as warming up. This seat should be hot because when I look at the playoff picture right now at 3-7-1, really you're hypothetically still in it because you're three games if in the loss column, maybe 3.5 out from the Dolphins. But let's be honest, you lose 2 more games, you're done. If you go 6-9-1, you're done.
Oh, for sure.
If you go even 7-8-1, you're done. That tie messes with you. But this Bengals team, 1 or 2 more losses, and they're done. They're not making the playoffs. And I think they need to make a move because it's going to be one of those things where it's either you're going to continue being at the bottom of the AFC or it's, we'll get back, but it's right back to that mediocre style of winning.
Yeah, I got to point out, a team like the Denver Broncos getting rid of John Fox, getting Gary Kubiak, winning a fucking Super Bowl right then and there. And it's not the only time a team has gotten a new coach and won a Super Bowl in the near future. So it's definitely possible, but unfortunately for Cincinnati Bengals, they kind of missed the boat on that one. Team is going the wrong direction. To move on from the Cincinnati Bengals because, I don't want to talk about them anymore.
Yeah.
Another team that's in the exact same situation is the Los Angeles Rams with Jeff Fisher. Why does this guy have a job? He is the definition of 7-9 bullshit. And
you love saying that, by the way.
I do. It's one of my favorite things ever since I heard him say it. That's a Jeff Fisher quote, in case you didn't know. And he's just not good. You talk about mediocrity. Jeff Fisher is also, coincidentally, the definition of mediocrity. He is purely like a 500 quarterback. Quarterback coach. He will get you to the middle. And that is as good as it really gets. As good as it'll ever get, and somehow the guy still has a job. I don't know what blackmail he has on every single GM out there, but the guy just doesn't get fired. And when he did get fired, he got another job without an issue. I don't know how he does it. This team is not good. They have never been good with Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher teams really are not good in general. In 5 years, he's had a losing record with the St. Louis / Los Angeles Rams. But still, they want more? It makes no sense to me.
Well, and really the one thing, Jeff Fisher's situation is interesting because to me at this point, it's not just what's going on the field, or technically this is on the field as well, but not actually with the football in your hands. This could also play in with the Eric Dickerson stuff that's happening where Eric Dickerson, if you're unaware, living under a rock, he went on AM 570 in LA on Monday and basically said that upper management told him that he was not welcomed on the sidelines, where that prompted the higher-ups for the Rams to go on defensive, sent out some tweets. I guess Jeff Fisher called Dickerson and said that he wasn't allowed to be on the sideline because he makes his players feel the public comments make his players feel uncomfortable about him being on the sideline. I think this is one of the things where if the play on the field isn't enough, if Jeff Fisher, I'm going to say straight whiffing on Jared Goff, and I'm not saying whiffing on picking him, I'm saying whiffing on the whole playing situation of Jared Goff, you gotta this has to be the third strike of, hey, we got to get this guy out of here because we got to get somebody in here that will do something. Because here's my theory with the Rams, and Sean, I know I've brought this up to Sean, and Sean doesn't completely agree with it. I'm going to see what you think, Mark. The Rams are no longer in St. Louis. In St. Louis, it was very easy to be kind of mediocre because it's a baseball town. They like their Cardinals, and it's like, oh, the Rams are there. Well, in LA, number one, there's an expectation of they want greatness. They want their teams to be great.
You're
Kings,
back, now win.
Yeah, Kings, champions. Lakers, champions. Clippers aren't champions, but right now they're playing pretty damn well. You also have USC and all of they were basically the pro football team through my lifetime in LA. And the Rams now come back, and you have a abysmal season. I'm going to say 4-7, abysmal season as your first year in LA. In LA, you gotta start winning because to me, there's so much to do in LA. So much to do, much more things to take people's attention to where if you're going to start losing, no one's going to pay attention to you.
Yeah.
They're going to have the Lakers. They're going to have the Clippers. The Lakers are on the up and up. The Clippers are already there where they're a top team in the Western Conference. The Kings are always good
It's also
in hockey.
The thing I've always said is to transplant city. People go to that city and already have the team that they cheer for. Sure, they will adopt a new team if you're successful. It is a very bandwagon type of city, too. But yeah, it's not a place where you can not be successful. And Jeff Fisher is a perfect example of not being successful. They got to get rid of him. And supposedly there's some source out there saying that the Rams and Jeff Fisher are going to sign a new deal together.
Don't.
If that happens, just stop. Just I don't know, get rid of them. They were talking about a possible developmental team or developmental league that the NFL is going to sponsor. The very first team should be the LA Rams, if that's the case, because signing Jeff Fisher to yet another deal is saying that, hey, we are prepared to suck for the entire duration of our Los Angeles existence until we once again leave. When LA loses yet another team.
How about this one? I'll throw this one out to you. This is probably the easiest home run I'm going to give you all podcast. Gus Bradley.
Yeah, Gus Bradley sucks. This roster is really good.
Nice way to put it, Mark.
Yeah, this roster is really good. It is. And I do want to give some blame to Blake Bortles because I think Blake Bortles deserves quite a bit of it. He's just so unpredictable. And when he's been successful, it's just that little glimmer of hope. And then he comes out there and he proves us wrong. So it's bad. It's 2-9. This is Bradley's fourth season. And, this team, they cannot ever get above 500. And I don't want to say when is enough again, but the man's 14-45. That's bad. That's bad.
I mean, it is Jacksonville. So, I mean, you could look at it and go, well, it is the Jaguars.
Hey, we got 14 wins. That's good, right?
I have an interesting theory about the Jaguars, and I want to throw it out to you. What do you think because one guy that no one's talked about, and this is something that we're going to get into at the end of the podcast, but nobody has talked about this coach when it comes to coming back into the game, Tom Coughlin, who's been sitting out this year.
I talked about him last week.
Do you think that we see a situation where the Jaguars fire Gus Bradley and get in talks with Coughlin to come back and coach the Jaguars, a team and a city he is familiar with from being the coach in Jacksonville before he went to New York?
Yeah, I think that if any team can get Tom Coughlin to get off the couch and come back to football, it's got to be him. It really does, because I don't see who else could inspire Tom Coughlin to get off. I think the Bears have a shot, but the Bears aren't really... The Bears roster is not next season we win. And Tom Coughlin's old. He's old. He's had his success.
70 years old.
He wants to come out there and basically take that roster, make a few tweaks, make a few changes, and just kind of get a little bit more out of them and win.
And that's why I say that with Jacksonville, because this was supposed to be the year the Jaguars took that next leap. I mean, they drafted Ramsey for the secondary. They had Donta Fowler Jr. coming back off an injury. You have the young T.J. Yeldon in the backfield, Blake Bortles. You have Allen Robert. You have Allen and Allen basically as your wide receivers on the outside, Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson, to where this team was supposed to be. You have Julius Thomas as your tight end. This was supposed to be the year that this team sort of took off and made a statement of, hey, the Jaguars are finally here. Now, it hasn't been them. The Oakland Raiders have been doing that for them just fine. But that's why I bring up Tom Coughlin. I have that theory of maybe the Jaguars can bring him out and bring him back into the head coaching world. One other coach I want to mention before we wrap everything up, and this is a guy where I kind of find it funny that they say colder than you think on this ESPN article, because we already know if they don't make the playoffs, he's going to be gone. But
that's what they said.
Rex
That's what
Ryan.
they told him.
Does Rex Ryan get the boot?
Rex Ryan probably. Well, it's weird because he doesn't necessarily deserve to get the boot because the Bills have played pretty decently. But
are they going to make the playoffs, though? That's the
no,
thing.
they're not going to make the playoffs. And they said, talk is cheap, but they said if you are not making the playoffs this year, you are sitting at home or coaching somewhere else. So it's one of those times where you gotta actually act on your words. You have to make good on your words. Otherwise, what does that mean? Sorry, we just threatened your job, but we didn't really mean it. No, that doesn't work. So, I mean, I think he kind of has to go for that case. Although, for once, I'm going to say Rex Ryan maybe doesn't deserve to get fired in this situation because it was a long time in New York. I said he should. I think there's a lot of these coaches that probably should. I think Mike McCarthy needs to go. John Fox, I don't think needs to go, but I think he will. Unless Matt Barkley suddenly starts winning games, please do not. Chuck Pagano, I think there's probably thought about it, but I think he's safe. Those are the kind of. Oh, of course, Mike McCoy too. That guy does need to go. San Diego Chargers have just been too mediocre as well. So a lot of coaches that probably should go, but we're always surprised every year by the guys who stick around.
Well, and the one thing that the Bills, they have 3 teams ahead of them in the playoff picture. And if you look at the final 5 games, the Bills have Oakland, Steelers, Browns, Dolphins, Jets. 3 games, Raiders, Steelers, Dolphins. That's going to decide their season. The Steelers had the Giants, the Bills, and the Ravens. The Broncos basically have their last 3, Patriots, Chiefs, and Raiders. Then the Dolphins basically have I'm just going to say it, maybe the Ravens this week, but after that, the Bills and the Patriots at the end of the year. The Bills, if they even lose to either the Steelers or the Dolphins, their season could be over.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean they're just not going to make the playoffs because it's one of those things where I don't think they're going to beat the Raiders. I think the Raiders have their number. The Steelers, I can give them because the Steelers, it depends on what kind of disciplinary, like how disciplined they play. But I got to give the edge to the Dolphins right now, just how they have played overall. And then the Broncos, I mean, it's really going to depend. They have the roughest with that Patriot Chief Raider to end the season. The Bills, it's possible. I just don't see them making the playoff. I see either the Dolphins, I'm going to say the Dolphins or the Broncos making that playoff spot at the 6th seed because the Chiefs are going to be the 5th seed. It's either going to be the Chiefs or the Raiders at the 6th seed. The other one is going to win the division. But before we wrap everything up and we go into some coaches that could be getting jobs next year, are there any coaches that we left off that you want to throw out there and mention?
No, I mentioned my little thing just a little bit ago about guys like Mike McCoy, Mike McCarthy, how they should go. John Fox probably will go, but doesn't necessarily deserve it. Rex Ryan, I think, is in that same situation of there's a good chance he'll go, doesn't necessarily deserve it. Chuck Pagano, I think, is safe. Those are my guys. Those are my guys right now.
Now, and we are going to move on, and before we do...
Oh, Chip Kelly. I think Chip Kelly will probably be safe, but I would like him to go.
I think he's got one more year, then we'll see him back in college. One more in the NFL. After next year, he's back in college, unless that Oregon job opens up and he jumps right back to the Oregon
his
Ducks.
safe place.
Yeah, his safe place. But let us know down below what you guys think. What coaches do you think could be getting fired as we get towards the end of this NFL season? It's sad to say that we're getting towards the end, but